Let's ring it in. I like your shirt.
Rock and roll. Thank you, man.
Be kind.
Be kind.
Should we get merch?
Never against merch.
Yeah, let's merch it up. Hats, beanies.
I could always fill up my closet with more merch. Ding, ding, ding.
Doesn't get old.
I like it.
I'm really
ringing in the new year.
Ringing in the new year. Well, welcome to. It's not the new year, but
it's not the new year yet.
But welcome to the week after.
The week after.
And people say
the week after Sunday.
Yep, week after Sunday. That's how we roll. So today we're kind of following up to a conversation Jordan and I had about is the church important? And then we kind of led us to church hopping.
What if I love Jesus but don't like the church?
Exactly.
Yeah, so church hopping.
Church hopping. What does that even... So the reason I brought that up, what does it mean? What does that look like? Church hopping is where you haven't really found a home church. And so what you do every Sunday is go to a different church and test it out. I've seen this lived out mostly a lot of times through the youth recently where I moved to Fallbrook. It's been interesting because I have never heard of these students who go to like this church on Tuesday, this church on Wednesday, this church on Thursday.
Yep.
And that was so strange to me because I'm like, I grew up to one youth group and that was it. That was consistent. But they have their friends there, And so that was just interesting to see that. And I see that more as adults as well. And what's your thought about that, Jordan? Why do you think what is the cause of church hopping, do you think, in your opinion?
First of all, I love the term church hopping. I love the term. I love all these Christian terms that we come up with. Yeah. Church hopping, Bible thumping. I think it's hilarious. So what was your question?
Yeah, no. I'm just saying, do you what's your view and why do people church hop?
Why do people church hop? That's a good question. I know being born and raised here in Fallbrook, I grew up going to different youth groups as well. I went to at least 2 during the week. At least 2. That's if I even went to youth group.
Yeah.
And I think the first youth group I even went to wasn't my home youth group. It was a different church. And so I'm very familiar with that culture that we have here in Fallbrook of the youth church hopping. But church hopping overall, it's I think it's church hopping overall can be a struggle.
Yeah.
And I personally, I don't have a huge problem with church hopping especially if you're a kid.
Yeah,
if you're a teenager, don't have a huge problem with it. Even if you're an adult, if you like to go to different churches. But my only red flag is if you church hop and you have no anchor church. I don't care if you go to church A and church B during the week for different events, or maybe this church does something that you have a passion for and this church doesn't. Great, love it. But the church you go to on Sunday, I hope is your anchor church in your home church.
I like that anchor church. I like that.
Because you have to have a home, right? Like when I went to different youth groups, I didn't not have a home church that my family went to. I just like to go and experience different things with different people within my community, right? Because we're all in the same community. I think that if we don't do some sort of church hopping on some level, we kind of miss out on the greater community overall in our town. But if you do that nonstop and you don't have your anchor church that you attend to, at least twice a month, 3 times a month, if not every week.
Well, and I think you're getting on it is and also the heart of it. What's the heart of you church hopping? There's one thing of hey, I really appreciate this event there. They provide something. They have a really great kids ministry that my kids just are a part of,
Right.
That's just the reality of it. I've seen the other thing of church hopping where it's just we we've been here, but I don't like the teaching, so I'm gonna go here. But I don't like the worship here, so I'm gonna go here. Well, I'm not really connecting with people, so I'm gonna go here. And so you're like, I think this goes beyond what you can offer, at churches to like your personal preference. Because you're expecting the church to meet all your check boxes and your needs.
Right.
And that's where I feel like we can run into some issues as Christians, as you're trying to develop fellowship, and when you're trying to go through and does the worship sound good? Is it too loud or too soft? Are they doing old school? Okay, now let's go to the speaker. Is he preaching the gospel? Yes. Okay. Is he doing this or that? And you go through your checklist. And I don't know if that's healthy. I don't think that's beneficial, because then you start having this idea that the church is for you instead of, you are there to like unto the Lord, And so like,
yeah, no, I feel you on that. It's a struggle. I've been going to the same church since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 18 years. And throughout that 18 years, have I loved every worship set that we've done, or every sermon series that's been taught?
Definitely.
Or every even years of activities?
Yeah.
No. But I've never had a longing inside of me that says, oh, I'm just going to go experience it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's not to judge people that have had that feeling. That's just to say that if I'm staying consistent with the word and I'm following what God's word is teaching me about community and fellowship and your people, whatever it is, then I always go back to that with my home church, going, these are my people and this is my home. And you don't typically leave your people or leave your home in any other situation. But somehow along the line in churchdom, we have adopted that mentality of, well, like you said, if it doesn't cater to me here or there, then I'm gonna leave.
Definitely.
And it becomes like a buffet of it's church a la carte.
Oh, that's a good term right there, man.
And you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna have the buy one get one here, but I'm gonna experience this elsewhere.
Definitely.
And you miss the overall community of that. Like if, let's say you were born to your mom and dad and you love them, but you spent the majority of your time at a different person's house because their parents offer you this and that. And then you eventually just ignore your parents. Well, you're leaving your home. You're leaving your people. You're leaving like you're not only your flesh and blood, you're leaving in the church perspective. This is kind of getting, Christianese, but you're leaving like your spiritual lifeblood, like your community, your brothers and your sisters. There's a reason why you feel so rooted at a church that you're at, and it's because you've spent so much time with these people. Now,
that's either a good thing or a bad thing sometimes, right?
Yeah,
because I feel like if you're with the church, there's going to be some drama, but that's like family, right?
Always,
you go through drama, and I think there's two things. Like if you're like Jordan, you kind of been part of church, you may have been burned out and want to go seek on your own, and that's great. Do that. And I want to speak to that. I want to speak to that. If you don't have a home church, or if you're seeking for another church, it's okay to try a couple of churches out. But I would suggest, I would plead to go like, just be consistent. Like if you're checking a church out, just don't give it one Sunday. Say, I'm going to stick here for 3 months. I'm going to stick here for several times, and you can gauge it from there, because you can gauge it. Like you should be seeking a couple great things from the church, right? Are they preaching the gospel first in priority, right?
Right.
Because if they're preaching the gospel and they're theologically sound, it's a great church.
Right.
Now, if they don't cater to your every need, I think there's a blessing to that, because I think the more and more you're part of a church, the more you're involved. For example, you have an impact on that church. Let me finish that. You have an impact on that church. And I think so. I know that because being here at Riverview, I came 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Showed up. Now, Riverview is not like the church I probably would have gone to. I love, like, I'm more of like when I got here, I love bigger worship. You see Hillsong. I'm really, I'm into worship. I'm into like, super into this or that. And I was like, and the crowd is different, right? There's a lot of young families here. And I was like a 22-year-old kid. and I'm coming here.
Well, you just got from camp
A
ministry.
camp ministry.
Jeremiah has a camp ministry background, so he's looking for like some probably camp experience.
Yeah, and I do AV, so like I'm expecting this different thing. And it's like, and I knew other churches could offer that,
Right.
but me being wanting to be consistent, to like I had this mentality that, just because you don't like it, you don't just move on. You be the change that you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a part of a healthy church, I feel like, technical difficulty.
Jeremiah didn't turn his phone
I'm on a
off.
roll.
No, be the change that you want to see. I like that. But I think what Jeremiah has been trying to say is you don't see something. Well, I guess I should ask you, why did you get plugged in at Riverview? Why was Riverview the option?
Yeah.
And there's reason why you needed to be here, and why you needed to be the change that you wanted to see, because you could have had the opportunity to leave.
100%.
But
when I first got here, I came here during Easter, and then it was really, let me turn my phone on silent right now. It was really my wife who grew up in the church, Alyssa, and so I was
Right.
like, I'll check it out. And so I just kind of stuck around, and what got me kind of plugged in was getting to meet the people. Oh wow, like there's something different about. I was getting noticed. I met a guy who got me plugged in high school like 3 weeks in.
yeah,
He's like, hey, let's go out for lunch. Let me hear you. And I never been a part of a church where they're like so intentional like that,
yeah,
where they're like reaching out to you, want you to get you plugged in, see your gifts, and say, you know what, we would really love you to serve here and get to know you. And even more so is I saw people empowering me, like, oh, you do video? Like, let me meet you to the pastor. John Sylvester is like, hey, Pastor Mel, like, this is Jeremiah. They do video. They love to do it. They can do video for the church. And so it was them seeking us out. And it wasn't necessarily the vibe that I wanted. It wasn't like this hipster cool vibe and like all these different things, but it was God's opening up, like by relationships and by the community that was building and that God put in my life and the mentorship all through this. Like 6 years later, like I was able to have influence.
right.
And like I'm able to change up the worship and like the style of it.
Yeah.
I'm able to create a different environment, or that environment that God's put on my heart and that I think would be a blessing to others, and others believe that to be a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I would have checked out the first 3 months, I would have missed out what God had for us. I would
Right,
if I
yeah.
would have checked out and say, you know what? And like, when I mean check out, like you can go to a church for 3 months, but if you go to church for 3 months and don't talk to people and just sly in and sly out,
Yeah.
it's not the church's duty.
You're
to
not
hunt-
really going to church.
Yeah, like people can like, yes, we do our best to hunt people down and say, hello, you're welcome. But you have to eventually, you have to be involved. You have to ask questions. You have to engage. Like, don't put all the responsibility on the church. Is like, well, they never reached out to me. Oh, well, were you part of a home group?
Right.
Were you part of the volunteer team?
Yeah. What did you do?
And they're like, well, and it's just like, that's so ridiculous. And they leave and they check out another church, and they'll just continue cycling churches through that. So my encouragement for those who like haven't found a home church, give it some time. Like as long as you find a healthy community that is loving Jesus, stick with it.
Yeah. Amen. No, I like that. And so I have some personal experience with this. I don't want to come across as the guy that's saying you have to only go to one church your whole life. Right? That's not what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say. Because I grew up going to a Baptist church for the first 10 years of my life with my family, right? My family had been there for a long time, lots of involvement. And we loved it. It was home. We would probably be there to this day if there weren't issues that happened with individuals, and there's turmoil that happened, right? And sometimes that happens, and I was a kid, so I can't really go back and take any ownership of it.
Yeah.
But I know that there were differences and disagreements, and it was the decision of my family to go somewhere else because there were some hurt feelings and whatnot. Not saying that that's a reason to switch churches, but that was my experience as a kid.
Yeah.
And so we ended up going to, just a handful of churches in the area. So we would go to each church probably 3 weeks in a row and then experience it. And then we came to Riverview, and we've been here ever since. And so at some point, I understand that there is a point for families that something happens with them, maybe in this community,
Mhm.
or something is done where maybe distance is needed, right?
Mhm.
There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I think the thing that I'm more question are the people that, I guess what I'm trying to get down to is, what is your purpose for even coming to church?
Hmm.
Why are you here? Why do you wake up on a Sunday morning and say, "Oh, I should go to church"? Is it because you don't read your Bible throughout the week and so you need it taught to you on Sundays? I mean,
Yeah.
is that why? Is it because you don't feel um, the depth of God throughout the week and so you need someone else to give it to you on a Sunday morning? I'm talking to you. Or are you someone that wakes up on a Sunday morning and goes, "No, I want to go to church because I want to be a part of something with my community."
Yeah.
You know, there's two things, two differences there. The first one I said, I think has to do with a lot of people.
Mhm.
I'm not I'm not calling any names. I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm not trying to do that. I think we've all been that person at some point.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's a lot of Christianity in America these days. Wakes up on a Sunday morning, they go to church because they want to be spiritually fed.
Mhm.
They want to be spiritually nourished. And there's this thought process, this narrative out there that you can only do that on a Sunday morning with your pastor. And the sad thing is, people don't realize that church doesn't happen on a Sunday morning. Church happens every single day with you, in your heart, in your mind, in your house, on your couch. There is so much opportunity for you to experience church in depth and knowledge and belonging and nourishment and being fed apart from going to church on a Sunday morning. If you're expecting your pastor to do that for you, you have the wrong perspective.
Mhm.
If that is why you come to church on a Sunday morning, it is going to be much easier for you then to pick and choose different things from different churches that you like and dislike. And then now it's a retail store. You're going to this shop and you're going, "Hey, I really like to buy my shoes and my socks here, but I prefer to buy my jeans and my shirts at this store. I really like this church for its worship, but I like this church for its teaching." Cool. Those things in itself aren't wrong. Socks and shoes and shirts and jeans aren't wrong in themselves.
Mhm.
But if you're only going to church so you can experience their worship and their teaching, man, you're going to church for the wrong reasons. And that's, I'm trying to say all of this to point to your focus and your priority in your heart. Like, where is your focus? Where is your priority? Why are you going to church? I hope it's instead my desire, my prayer, and God's intention for you as you become part of the church is to be involved in your community.
Mhm.
It's not about how great the teaching is. It's not about how great the worship is.
And
Those things are important, but it's bigger than that.
and I think that's the point people miss is I hear and nothing against them, like we enjoy, but I encourage people to join a church in their community.
Right.
You know, you
Yes.
hear people that drive an hour to church or go, I'm just like, that's not, you're missing out on the bigger thing. Like you said, churches
Totally.
every day. You know, you have to, I love being in the community of your church because then you have this opportunity, it just goes deeper throughout the week
Mhm.
and you're able to see faces throughout the city. You know, you get to know people. Like I see people all over Fallbrook now because I
Mhm.
go to church and they recognize me as they're able to say hello and it's able to be encouragement to one another. So it's not like a necessary thing, but it's definitely you miss out on that blessing.
Mhm.
And I think that's so key. You know, you just spoke so much good words there, man. Yeah, good word from the Lord right there. And I think we can continue to encourage others to like be patient, you know, seek your heart first and foremost and why you're going to church.
Yeah.
And what's about this church that is grinding your gears, but maybe you can stick with it and see what the Lord does.
Yeah, it's so easy to do also.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last episode, we talked about, I want to follow Jesus, but I don't want to go to church. And
Yeah.
like, can I do both? And we talked about how that's, they kind of go hand in hand. And it's the same thing with this conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I just forgot what I was going to say. That's a bust.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
no, it's that one.
Nope.
Busted.
Yeah, busted.
There you go.
Yeah, busted.
We're still getting used to the sound effects here.
That's busted. That was busted. That was a busted thought process for me. That stinks. Yeah. But no, yeah, it happens. And so I remember being a young adult, probably about, I don't know, 18, 19, 20 years old. And realizing that, yeah, I want something done this way.
Yeah.
Right? That's our nature. That's our flesh coming in saying, Jordan wants that, Jeremiah wants that, right? And it's in our humanity to go, well, if I don't get it, I'll go get it somewhere else.
Yeah. It's all about that. Was it Burger King? Have it your way.
Have it your way.
Have it your way. And that's the mentality. I think the biggest thing that we need to take away from this is that, like, we kind of talked about having your way. That's not something like we have to get out of that mindset.
You got to get out of that mindset. It's consumerism. It's not biblical.
Yeah.
It's not biblical. And so when I was about 18, 19, 20 years old, I remember that thought process of, I want to have it my way. I want the Burger King crown on my head and I want it my way. And then I realized that, like, that's not building the kingdom. Me sitting in the pews or, sitting at home thinking about my church, thinking about being in the pews, going, man, I want it my way. That's not building the kingdom. What instead does build the kingdom, when I sit there and I go, man, yeah, those things I want, but man, I love my church and I'm dedicated to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's that commitment. It's that desire to say, like what you said, like, I'm going to step up and I'm going to actually get involved. If you are just church hopping from one door to another and you're never getting involved, you're never ultimately going to find that longing that you're searching for.
And not even church hopping. If you're just coming to church to tick off a box and you're never going to, like, you're not going to get to that point where we're, like, building relationships and, experiencing the blessing that church can be.
And I honestly feel, and this might be a hot take, and you can fill up my DMs if you want, but I honestly feel like if you're the person that I said was option one, where you're going to church, to be fed and nourished, you're not going to be the Christian that God is calling you to be Monday through Saturday. You're just not. You might be on Sunday morning between the hours of 8 and 11.
Yeah.
But noon hits and you've gone back into your mindset of, well, I'm just now fed. Now I'm going to work off this energy until next week. You're never going to be your own Christian. You're going to be the Christian that your pastor is teaching you to be in your head, which is, again, not necessarily wrong, but you have to partner that up with what God is doing in your heart, in your time, through his word, in your meditation, in prayer. Like, and that starts with you. That doesn't start with your pastor. That doesn't start with your church. That doesn't start with your worship team.
When you're up in heaven, it's just going to be you before the Lord. It's not going to be your pastor.
Yeah, amen. You're going to be standing there in front of Jesus, and he's going to be like, hey, you were pretty good between 8 and 11 on Sunday morning.
Yeah, talk to my pastor.
Yeah. Your pastor had a great report card for you, right? But who are you at the grocery store?
Yeah.
Who are you when you're driving your car? Who are you when you're at your workplace? Like, who are you with your family at home? You got to be pursuing the Lord and constantly gnawing on his word throughout the week. You can't depend on your pastor to, feed you like a baby bird. You can't expect him to just know on those words and then spit them out to you.
Definitely. It's a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, know, and that's why we all have to pick up our cross daily,
Mhm.
and choose Christ, and that's the reality. And so, wow, it's a lot. I think
That
we're
was a lot.
running.
I got
I
more
think
passionate about that than I thought I would.
no, it's great. I think that's a good where place to lay off. I mean, not lay off, but like to
Yeah.
move on. We're gonna. Luckily, we get tons more time to talk about different things like this on this video podcast. But
Mhm.
thank you, Jordan, for sharing those words of inspiration.
Absolutely. And if I could just do one more thing.
Yeah, of course.
If you're someone who's listening to this and you're like, oh, Jordan's a jerk, or Jeremiah is lost out of his mind, I just want to encourage you. Again, like I said last time, you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many people that feel this way. And I feel a little bit more passionate and blunt about it because I experience it on a daily basis. And I see how it not only pulls people away from their communities, but it can kind of unravel them spiritually. And so I get passionate about it. So if you're a person that's experiencing this, I just want to let you know that you're not alone. Feel free to ask questions. And also, I want to encourage you to kind of pull up your big boy, big girl pants and say, I'm going to take control of my faith with the Lord. And then I'm going to dedicate and commit myself to a certain church home. That doesn't mean you can't experience things at different churches.
Mm-hmm.
You can still do that. You can still send your kids to different youth groups. But your anchor has to be planted.
And I would say an anchor, just a good gauge on it, somewhere you serve.
Yeah, it's serving.
Serving.
For sure.
I think that's the key. It's like when you're anchored, you're serving in there. And so that may be once a month, that may be, many times you want. But just that would be a gauge of this is my home church because I serve it.
Yeah.
And so just keep that in mind.
You'll see the fruit.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to encourage people, like, we are not saying that we're going to treat you differently because you experience our,
Right.
We're not we're
right.
not saying, we're not condemning you. Like, you're not going to go to heaven. No, we're not saying that. Hopefully I don't think it came across, but I just want to be blatantly clear. We love you. We'll love you through this season.
Mm-hmm. You can be a church hopper.
Yeah, you can. But you're going to miss, like you say, like
the fullness
of it.
Yeah, you're going to miss out. And so that's why we get passionate
love
about
you
it.
so much.
We don't want you to miss out.
I don't want Jordan to miss out on the blessing. I don't want you to miss out on the blessings that it could be. And it's just that overwhelming sense of joy that can be.
Mm-hmm. If you don't like the teaching at your church, just hold out. Persevere through that. If you don't like the worship, persevere.
Exactly. They have Monday through Friday. You can watch thousands of preachers online.
Yeah.
And you can watch
get it
anywhere you want. And I think the key thing is search for a church where you can serve and feel plugged in through the community that you're at. And that's going to encourage you, but not just encourage you, just to push you towards Christ always.
Right.
That's
amen.
But yeah.
No, amen.
All right, guys. This is another
episode of the week after.
So,
all right. Save your questions after Sunday. Send them to us.
Yeah, send it to us. We'll start doing some Q&As.
We'll start
maybe
doing
do
that.
a live session.
Give us some topics to talk about. Maybe, oh yeah, and if you have any insults or, want to call me out or anything, please, DMs are open.
Yes.
So is my Venmo. Venmo is open.
Yes, we're going to be on Patreon soon. I'm just
all right, guys.
Like a Christian Patreon,
Ooh.
It's called the church.
It's called Christion.
All right. Well, Jordan, thanks for joining me. Love the shirt again.
Of course. Thank you. Be kind. Everybody be kind. Peace.
Have a happy holidays.
A happy one.
Merry Xmas. Christmas.
Merry,
Christmas.
Yeah, whatever, dude. See ya.
Oh, no, I got this one. Wait.